Stop scrolling. What if the one coin that everyone wrote off suddenly elbowed its way past Ethereum? Yes, we're talking about XRP, and the math will melt your face. So picture this. It's 7:30 in the morning. I'm clutching a coffee that's way too hot, and my phone starts buzzing like it owes me rent. First ping, Bitcoin finally powered through the 6-digit glass ceiling once again. Back above 100 grand, baby, right? Second ping, a little quieter but juicier. XRP quietly popped above $2.30 overnight, and people are whispering, bro, the thing could actually flip Ethereum. Now, I'm awake. So I slide onto the balcony, Dubai skyline stretching in front of me, and start kind of crunching the numbers like an over-caffeinated Rain Man. Now, at roughly $2.37 a pop, XRP's market cap is sitting at around $239 billion. That's already enough to value to kind of buy, get this, every single Lamborghini ever manufactured, right? And still tip the valet, right? But here's the kicker, right? It's less than 11 billion shy of dethroning Tether for the bronze medal. Now, one solid 8% price kicker and, well, 256, and we're there. But you and I both know that the community isn't salivating over third place. No, everyone's eyeing Ethereum's silver throne. Now, ETH just kind of flexed a 33% sprint back to around $2,400, inflating its market cap to roughly $291 billion. Now that puts a yawning kind of $152 billion canyon between it, right, and XRP. Now that's a mountain, right? Actually, more like a really sketchy rope bridge, because XRP only needs to double plus a smidge, and that is about 111% to land a decent hit on that number. Now, here is where the story gets spicy level ghost pepper. Remember 2017, XRP was kind of strutting around as kind of crypto's runner-up, beating Ethereum like it stole something. Then a 7-year winter, courtroom soap operas with the SEC, and a community that could teach TED Talks about the phrase, "Are we there yet?" Now, yet despite all the potholes, XRP has, rocketed nearly 600% since last November, while Ethereum's been jogging in place. The chart looks like XRP strapped on a kind of jetpack, and Ethereum just kind of called an Uber. Still, numbers are only half of the magic trick. Analysts like Dark Defender swear that there's an ABC correction pattern lining up for a short straight to a $5 to $8 range. You got Vincent Van Code, who tossed the same target late last year. Sure, February came and went without any fireworks, but patterns, they don't read calendars. They just coil tighter until someone lights the fuse. So what's the actual obstacle course then between today's 230 something and tomorrow's $5 victory lap? The first hurdle is going to be supply. Unlike Bitcoin's fixed 21 million, XRP's floating a pretty hefty 58 billion and change. Now that means that every single penny tacked onto its price is a multi-billion-dollar weight added to the market cap. But supply cuts both ways. It also means deep liquidity when big money wants in. Now think pension funds, think sovereign wealth funds, think that one uncle who still calls crypto Bitcoin. The second hurdle is Ethereum isn't exactly snoozing, right? The ecosystem just rolled out another DeFi upgrade. Gas fees are chilling below Happy Meal prices. See how long that lasts. And of course, institutions are hoarding ETH like toilet paper in 2020. Now, if Ethereum explodes north of 3 grand, well, the goalposts sprint further downfield. In other words, XRP needs to kind of race a moving target on a treadmill that's already set to incline 12. Yet the tailwinds for Ripple's token are stacking up like dominoes. You got legal clarity, the SEC suit, that once felt like, I guess, a guillotine is basically a kind of rubber knife after Judge Torres's summaries. And you've got cross-border payments, right? Or these real banks from Singapore to, Japan are trialing ODL faster than you can binge watch a Netflix season. And, whisper it, there's chatter of a US stablecoin, RLUSD, that could jack up native XRP demand when it launches on some of these more popular chains. Now, let's talk about psychology then, because markets run on FOMO and cappuccino foam in equal measure. Trust me, right? Bitcoin, it smashes 100K and it isn't just a price, it's actually a bat signal, right? Now, retail starts kind of pouring back in. Mum and pop brokerage apps light up. Grandma's asks about cold wallets at brunch. And when the spotlight swings from Bitcoin to the next kind of shiny outperformer, historically, that kind of torch lands on large cap altcoins and say hello to XRP and Cardano. But we have to cue the problem. Can community hype out-muscle cold math? Now, I threw the question to my Discord the other day, and by the way, if you're not in our free crypto Discord server, there's a link in the description down below. Jump in before the next pump leaves the station. And, the vote kind of was split down the middle here, right? Half the group clings to $5 like the kind of manifest destiny, and the other half says Ethereum's moat is too wide unless Ripple drops some kind of bombshell partnership and, well, with, I don't know, let's say Apple Pay or maybe the Federal Reserve at some kind of press release. Now, that debate, of course, sent me rabbit holing into kind of Blowfin's order books. Shout out to Blowfin, our partner exchange, and honestly, one of the sickest up-and-coming platforms out there. If you want to ride these waves with ultra low spreads, hit that link in the description down below, snag up the sign-up bonus, and start trading crypto with the best new exchange on the block. Anyway, the depth around $3 is quite thick. Whales are nibbling and not dumping, and somebody out there is quietly accumulating like it's Black Friday doorbuster. But the most interesting stat that I pulled: inflows into XRP ETPs spiked $18 million this week alone. That's not retail, right? That's desks with Bloomberg terminals and business cards that read director. Now, when suits decide a coin is worth hedging, the narrative can flip faster than a pancake on high heat. Here's something the headline chasers always miss though. Not all 58 billion XRP are sloshing around on exchanges, right? Ripple still locks up a massive chunk, almost half, in monthly escrows, right? Dripping out $1 billion a month and usually rolling most of it back right into the escrow. So think of it like releasing wild pandas into a reserve. Yes, technically they're counted in the population, but they're not kind of bumping into them, at the grocery store, right? And why does that matter? Because excessive liquid supply is tighter than surface math lets on. And so let's nerd out with a quick back of the napkin kind of math at $2.50, right? Market cap flirts with $147 billion, bump to $3.50 and you're kissing 200 billion, right? At $5 flat, well, bang, 290 something billion dollars, right? Depending on how many coins Ripple kind of re-escrows that month, the $5 kind of line isn't just a round number. It's actually a psychological equivalent of climbing Everest without, supplemental oxygen. Now, if we hit it, headlines everywhere from Bloomberg to that crypto gossip TikTok account are going to explode. But Nick, my buddy Josh, texted me. Yes, I have friends who fact check my hype. What about Ethereum's smart contract moat? And it's a fair question from Josh here, right? ETH is basically the Swiss Army knife of Web3, right? DeFi ecosystems, NFTs, layer 2 rollups, Ethereum staking yields, juicier than some government bonds. Flipping that, it isn't just about numbers. right? It's like a soccer team of strikers trying to outscore one with midfield, defense, and a goalie. Yet remember, soccer matches, they aren't won on paper. They're won when one side capitalizes on a 10-second, or at least the 10 seconds that the other side potentially blinks. Now, macro-wise, the stars are kind of aligning for a sentiment switch, right? US Treasury yields eased after the Fed hinted at a single rate cut later this year. Now, that's a big neon risk-on signal, right? Meanwhile, of course, Europeans' MiCA regulations kicked in, giving institutions the regulatory clarity to allocate a slice of their digital asset portfolio beyond just Bitcoin and Ethereum. So what's next for the pecking order? Well, assets with legal clarity in the States and clear utilities overseas, which, unless my map is upside down, screams XRP, Cardano, and a few others. Add to that the brand new XRP spot ETF that everyone ignored because Bitcoin ETFs hogged the spotlight. AUM cracked $67 million in the first week. That's not headline grabbing, but it is baby Groot right now. Give it some sunshine, let it grow into an adult Groot before the sequel ends. Now, I'm no maximalist, right? Risks are real. We could get a macro rug pull if inflation kicks back up, or, some kind of shadow bank somewhere blows up and drags liquidity into a black hole. Technically, XRP's RSI, Relative Strength Index, just kissed the overbought line on the daily chart. And you never want to buy into a parabolic move without an kind of exit plan of sorts. Now, there's ETH 2.1 in the pipeline, promising, dank sharding that could slash transaction fees and make the chain more scalable than a buffet at an all-you-can-eat convention. Right? Now, if that upside lands smoothly, the finish line scoots farther away. Still, markets pay you for odds, not guarantees. Right? If the probability of XRP tagging $5 is, even conservatively, 20% in the next 12 months, and the payoff is a 100+% upside, suddenly the risk-reward ratio looks like finding a Picasso at a garage sale. Now, that's why I slice my portfolio into core long-term Bitcoin, moderate Ethereum kind of exposure, and a tactical altcoin stack, featuring Surprise XRP as the kind of momentum play. And here's one more slice of alpha before we kind of round up this home stretch, right? Watch remittance corridors in Asia Pacific, right? Volumes through RippleNet's partners in Japan and the Philippines exploded 40% year on year, according to their last quarterly report. Now, that's kind of real world usage isn't speculative fluff, right? It's transactional fees that must be settled in XRP. If macro uncertainty pushes banks to seek faster, cheaper rails, well, those corridors expand and suddenly you're looking at demand-driven corporate treasuries, not just meme tweets. Oh, and let's not gloss over the community energy. Attend any crypto conference and you're going to spot the XRP army by their sheer volume of holographic logos and baseball caps. Right? They've waited a long 7 years for validation. Think of them as compressed springs, right? The second that the price even sniffs at $4, right, you're going to hear a collective battle cry loud enough to bend sound barriers, and retail will chase that echo like kids after an ice cream truck. Okay, climax time. Imagine it's Q3. BTC just kissed $120,000. Ethereum's comfy at $2,700, and XRP punched through psychological resistances after psychological resistance, right? 280, 350, 420, right? Crypto Twitter melts. Hashtags trend. CNBC dusts off the old 2017 footage of Brad Garlinghouse grinning like he knew it all along. Finally, the scoreboard updates. Market cap $292 billion. Price $4.98. Ethereum knocked to bronze position. For a brief, glorious moment, the universe tilts and XRP sits in silver. But breathe, because markets correct. Even if XRP wears the silver crown for a single day, the real win is psychological proof that the so-called banker coin can still out-hustle a smart contract giant when momentum, fundamentals, and a dash of regulatory sunshine all line up. Whether it sticks the landing depends on sustained volume, actual utility adoption, and, let's be honest, how many more headlines Bitcoin can print before the halving hype fades. And so, where does that leave us mere mortals? Personally, I'm dollar cost averaging, eyes glued to that kind of $2.40 support zone, and the relative strength index is kind of like Game 7, right? I plan to have my buys on Bluefin, chart my thesis in the Discord, and sleep with one eye on price alerts because crypto never naps. If XRP revisits, the $2 level, I refill. If it rockets past $3, I trail my stops and practice my victory dance. Now, either way, I'm strapped in for this volatility roller coaster. Sunscreen on and GoPro rolling because I want the receipts. Okay, so here's a quick recap while I kind of finish off this now lukewarm coffee, if you will. XRP at $2.37 needs a $152 billion boost, right? About an 88% sprint, I guess, to overtake Tether for bronze and a 111% marathon to snag Ethereum's silver. Analysts see $5. Bitcoin setting the kind of mood at the moment at 6 digits, while whales are stuffing their bags like they know the secret soundtrack. Whether you're team flipping or team not this cycle, the next few months promise plot twists worthy of a HBO finale.